Welcome to English Story Cafe. Today, we will explore how to keep your brain young. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Imagine for a moment that we're sitting in a comfortable room with a large window overlooking a quiet garden. It is raining softly outside, the kind of rain that makes everything feel peaceful and green. You have nowhere else to be right now. You are exactly where you need to be. We often talk about the body. We talk about how to keep our hearts strong, how to keep our muscles flexible, and how to feed our stomachs with the right food. We join gyms, we go for long walks, and we count our calories. But there is a part of you that is more important than your legs or your arms. It is the command center of your entire existence. It is your brain. For a very long time, scientists and doctors believed a rather depressing story about the human brain. They used to tell us that the brain was like a machine. When you are a child, the machine is shiny and new. It learns fast. It absorbs everything like a sponge. But, they said, once you reach adulthood, the machine stops growing. They believed that after the age of 25, you could not create new brain cells. They thought it was a slow, inevitable road downhill. If you forgot where you put your keys, or if you struggled to remember a name, people would just shrug and say, well, that is just aging. But I have wonderful news for you today. That story is wrong. It is completely, wonderfully wrong. Recent discoveries in neuroscience have revealed something magical. Your brain is not a machine. It is a forest. And just like a forest, it can grow new trees, it can forge new paths, and it can become denser and richer, no matter how old you are. This ability of the brain to change and adapt is called neuroplasticity. Plasticity means it's moldable, like clay. It's not fixed in stone. The question then becomes, how do we mold it? How do we keep the forest growing? The answer is not a pill. It is not a surgery. The secret to a young brain is challenge. Specifically, the challenge of learning a new language. So, by simply listening to this podcast, by trying to understand my words, by decoding the grammar and the vocabulary I'm using, you are actively making your brain younger. Right now, in this very second, neurons in your head are firing and wiring together. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Elena. Elena was 62 years old when she retired from her job at a post office. For 40 years, Elena had a routine. She woke up at 7, had toast and coffee, walked to work, sorted mail, and came home. She was good at her job, but she could do it with her eyes closed. Her brain was on autopilot. When she retired, she thought she would be happy. She thought she would relax. But within 6 months, Elena felt a strange fog settling over her mind. She felt slow. Conversations seemed to move too fast for her to catch. She felt like she was watching the world through a dirty window. The routine that had comforted her was now suffocating her brain. The forest of her mind was becoming overgrown with weeds because nobody was walking on the paths anymore. One day, Elena found an old book in her attic. It was an English textbook from her high school days, dusty and yellowed. She opened it and read a simple sentence. "The sun rises in the east." She remembered the thrill of decoding a secret message. She decided, purely out of boredom, that she would learn English again. The first few weeks were terrible. Elena felt foolish. Her tongue felt heavy and clumsy when she tried to pronounce the TH sound. She would look at a word like enough and have no idea why it was spelled that way. She got headaches. She wanted to quit. She told herself that she was too old, that her brain was too dry. But this is where the magic happens. I want you to listen closely to this part, because it changes everything about how you view difficulty. The frustration Elena felt was not a sign of failure. It was the feeling of her brain growing. Think about lifting weights. If you pick up a feather, your muscles do not change. It's too easy. But if you pick up a heavy stone, your muscles tremble. They burn. That burning is the signal that the muscle is breaking down and rebuilding itself stronger. Language learning is heavy lifting for the brain. When Elena struggled to remember the difference between make and do, her brain had to send extra blood and oxygen to the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory. When she tried to switch between her native language and English, her brain had to activate the executive control center in the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that handles focus and multitasking. By struggling, she was waking up the sleeping giant inside her head. 6 months later, Elena wasn't fluent. She still made mistakes, but the fog was gone. She felt sharper. She remembered where her keys were. She could follow fast conversations again. It wasn't just her English that improved. Her entire life improved. She had built up what scientists call cognitive reserve. Imagine your brain is a bank. Every time you learn something new, you make a deposit. Learning a new word is a deposit. Understanding a complex grammar rule is a deposit. Listening to a story in a foreign language is a large deposit. The more deposits you have, the richer your cognitive reserve becomes. When you get older, or if you face illness, you have a massive savings account to draw from. People who speak 2 or more languages often show symptoms of dementia 4 to 5 years later than people who only speak 1. Think about that. Learning English can literally buy you time. But there is another layer to this. It is not just about the mechanics of the brain. It is about the soul of the learner. Language is not just a code. It is not just replacing the word for house with the word casa or maison. Language is a different way of seeing the world. When you learn English, you are learning how English speakers think. You are learning a culture that values directness, or perhaps a specific type of humor. You are stepping into someone else's shoes. This requires empathy, and empathy stimulates the emotional centers of the brain. It connects the logical side with the feeling side. When you listen to a story in English like you are doing now, your brain is lighting up like a fireworks display. You are visualizing the rain I mentioned earlier. You are feeling Elena's frustration. You are predicting what I'm going to say next. This is a symphony of neural activity. Let's go deeper into the process. How should you learn if your goal is to keep your brain young? Many people make the mistake of thinking they need to be perfect. They think they need to sound like a native speaker immediately. This is actually the wrong approach for brain health. Perfection is static. The journey is what matters. You need to be a detective. When you hear a phrase you don't understand, don't panic. Be curious. Ask yourself, why did they use that word? What does the context tell me? This act of problem solving is what stimulates neuroplasticity. If you just use a translation app, you are robbing your brain of the workout. You are taking the elevator instead of the stairs. Take the stairs. It is harder, yes, but it is good for your heart, and in this case, your mind. Novelty is the nutrient of the brain. Your brain loves new things. It craves them. If you do the same crossword puzzle every day, eventually your brain figures out the pattern and stops working hard. But language is infinite. You can never truly finish learning English. There is always a new word, a new idiom, a new dialect, a new book. It is a source of endless novelty. I want you to consider the concept of attention. In our modern world, our attention is fractured. We are constantly checking our phones, looking at notifications, jumping from one 10-second video to another. This fragments our concentration. It makes our thinking shallow. Learning English demands deep attention. You cannot learn a language while scrolling through social media. You have to sit with it. You have to listen. You have to focus on the shape of the sounds. This practice of deep focus acts like meditation. It calms the anxiety centers of the brain. It teaches you patience. In a world that is rushing nowhere, learning a language teaches you to sit still and build something that lasts. Let's return to Elena for a moment. After a year of studying, she decided to travel. She didn't go to a resort where everyone spoke her language. She went to a small town in Ireland. She walked into a bakery, and with a beating heart, she ordered a scone and a tea in English. The girl behind the counter smiled at her and answered her. They had a tiny conversation about the weather. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, but for Elena, that moment was victorious. It wasn't just about the tea. It was the realization that she had physically changed the structure of her mind to connect with another human being across the barrier of silence. She felt alive. She felt young. You might be thinking, but Sarah, I'm tired. I work all day. I have children. I have responsibilities. I don't have time to study for hours. Here's the secret. You don't need hours. The brain responds to consistency, not just intensity. 15 minutes a day is enough to keep the lights on. Listen to a podcast while you wash the dishes. Read one page of a book before you sleep. Talk to yourself in English while you drive to work. Narrate your life. Say, I am opening the door. I am starting the car. The sky is blue today. This simple act of narration forces your brain to stay awake. It stops you from sleepwalking through your life. It forces you to notice the details, and noticing details is the essence of youth. Children notice everything. They notice the ladybug on the leaf, the crack in the sidewalk, the color of the bus. As we age, we stop noticing. We glaze over. Learning English forces you to look at the world again with the eyes of a child, because you have to find the words to describe it.
There is also the social aspect. Loneliness is one of the biggest risks for an aging brain. We are social creatures. We need connection to survive. Learning English opens the door to a global community. Suddenly, you can talk to people from Japan, from Brazil, from Germany, from Canada. You can join conversation clubs online. You can make friends you never would have met otherwise. Every new friend you make is a new pathway in your brain. Every conversation is a spark that keeps the fire burning. I want to address a fear that many of you have. The fear of making mistakes. The fear of sounding stupid. Let's reframe that. A mistake is not a sign of stupidity. A mistake is evidence of courage. It means you stepped out of your comfort zone. When you make a mistake in grammar, your brain pauses. It notices the error. It corrects it. That moment of correction is where the learning happens. If you never make a mistake, you are not learning, you are just reciting. Embrace the broken English. Embrace the awkward pauses. They are the growing pains of a sharper mind. Wear your mistakes like badges of honor. They prove you are trying. They prove you are alive. As we move toward the end of our time together today, I want you to check in with yourself. How do you feel? Hopefully, you feel a little more hopeful. Hopefully, you realize that the brain you have today is not the brain you have to be stuck with. You have the power to change it. You possess the most complex machinery in the universe between your ears. It is capable of poetry, of logic, of emotion, and of reinvention. Do not let it gather dust. Do not let it rust in the corner. Use English as your tool to polish it. Use English to open the windows and let the fresh air in. Think of your English journey not as a chore you have to finish, but as a garden you get to tend. Some days it will rain and be muddy. Some days the sun will shine and flowers will bloom. But every day that you show up, you are nurturing the garden. You are keeping the forest wild and green. Tomorrow, when you wake up, try to think your first thought in English. Just one sentence. Maybe, today is a new day. Start there. Thank you for joining me at the English Story Cafe. I hope this episode has given you not just motivation to learn English, but a new appreciation for the incredible potential of your own mind. You are capable of more than you know. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep growing, and most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way. Until next time, take care of your brilliant, beautiful brain.